Hello and welcome to Voice of Crypto. It's a podcast where we talk about Web3, crypto, metaverse, and everything in between. And today I have a very special guest. We met a few weeks back at a boxing match. Although we were not fighting, but both of us were sitting next to each other and we started talking to each other. So, welcome on the show, Olinga, and thank you for coming on the show.
Abhishek, that's very kind of you to invite me, sir. And I think we're going to speak more today than we spoke at the boxing match. Yeah, so that's great. It was you should mention it was a crypto boxing match, wasn't it?
It was a crypto boxing match, and we really found it quite funny. This was my first boxing match as well, Solinga's first boxing match as well. So it was good experience, but at least something good has come from this boxing match of meeting you, Olinga. So to a lot of our viewers, Olinga, please tell us what you do, what has your journey been, and I remember you talking about lots of things which you have done. So yeah, that's the first question for you.
Very kind of you. Thank you. So I'm Olinga, and I'm an old man, as you can tell. I'm 64, so let's not hide that. Um, I before I came into blockchain and crypto, I had traditional business. I sold my first company in my 20s, late 20s, I should add, in the art space, digital art, and for about $1 million then. And since then, I then went into closed circuit television, CCTV. I sold the biggest CCTV company in the world to Siemens. I was lucky, again, fortunate. And blah, blah, blah. And by the time I was about 15 years ago, when I was 48, I retired from business. I had 9,000 staff and come out NASDAQ and so on. And I retired because of health issues to my daughter. And I became an advisor to Prime Minister David Cameron on something called Big Society. I was his impact investment advisor for 5 years. And I got my daughter's health issues around mental health really exposed me to a different way of life. You
Mm,
know, in 2008, at the time of her, she had a couple of breakdowns, and she hears voices 24/7,
mm,
and that changed my life dramatically. And I remember at that time, Abhishek, we have a small farm in Abergavenny in South Wales, and I was on top of a hill, and I thought, wow, 7 cars, 9 houses, and what was that about? All that financial value, but I didn't understand non-financial value,
mm,
happiness and hope and love and kindness.
mm,
And so I decided to really look at this and change my life and to study this. For some unknown reason, I became a couple of professorships were offered to me for no reason, to be honest to you. And one was in social enterprise, and one was in capacity development at a couple of universities in the UK. And I well, part of this kind of transition between just financial value, because I understood the currency of financial value, the dollar. I understood that. And it wasn't difficult. You know, you buy low, sell high. You know, it's not much more difficult than this.
mm,
But I clearly didn't understand the currency of love and happiness and good. I didn't understand the currency of non-financial value. So I wanted to study this. And during the process, uh, in the with the Big Society network, the think tank of David Cameron, we were looking at why bankers were paying themselves huge bonuses, and it became clear that even post 2008, when the bankers should be very apologetic about what they created, they said, "Well, no, look, the only metric we understand is financial value metric." In those days and today, it's still called the PE ratio, the price earnings ratio. It is the number one metric to on every single stock market in the world. This is how you value. Every day I would get up in the morning, I would look in the paper, FT, and when you look at your PE, then you understand quickly in one number, you'd understand how many more cars, houses, blah, blah, blah you have.
mm,
And And what it came clear is that I needed to, they encouraged me, to be honest, to develop, because they thought I was suddenly clever with these professorships. They thought mistakenly that I was quite clever. And they said, we should develop a non-financial metric like the PE ratio.
Mm.
And to cut it long story short, I went to Italy at the time where I used to live, and for 2 weeks, I could only think of the name. I thought, well, there's a PE ratio, so we should have a social earnings ratio, a price earnings ratio, social earnings ratio. So because the concept of total value, everything has a financial value and a non-financial value. Clearly, if I say to you, diamonds, gold, land has financial value, but so does happiness and hope and love. It has value. No one would say it has no value,
Mm.
except we don't know how to measure it.
Mm.
So I came back, I said, let's call it the social earnings ratio. And at that time, the guy went, wow, I love it. I love it. And then he got fired after 6 weeks. So that was the end of. So, but I did a gig for, the cabinet office, looked at some banks, did some stuff. No one was interested. I thought that I could automate it using data techniques that Google use, Meta uses these days, Amazon use, Microsoft, Apple, sentiment analysis techniques.
Mm.
And I went to the university and I said, I think I can automate this. And I said, we have no money. Okay, I'll pay for it. But I put it into a vehicle, it's mine. I'll put it into a vehicle. I set up a center for citizenship, enterprise, and governance, which now has about 220,000 members around the world. And I said, we fund it. I funded it. We did it. Still no one was interested. And then, in 2014, I was asked to give a speech to the Pope at the Vatican. So if you
Mm.
Google my name, Olinga Vatican, on YouTube, you'll see me bore the Pope for 20 minutes.
Mm.
And they said it's the fastest adopted social impact metric in the world because it uses data. You can measure impact, social impact, environmental impact within a couple of nanoseconds, actually.
Mm.
And so I thought, okay. But the trick came really when Vatican Press called it the God metric. And when they called it, when they called it God metric, it was like marketing from
Yes.
heaven, right?
Right
And
back.
suddenly I became super popular around the world in
Mm.
terms of governments who were using non-financial value to arbitrage between financial value. Like if I was to build in this country, there's a train track in the UK called HS2, and if it's worth 100 billion, say, and normally you have 10 quotes, and it used to be before, about 10 years ago, it used to be only on financial value you would decide who gets the contract. And in 10 days, you got to make that decision.
Mm.
And you got 10 tenders coming in, and you got to decide quickly. And so they went, well, actually, what about speed and quality? We went, okay, those are other interesting things. And then they went, what about social value? If I said I'll build a track, but I go through 4 cities to get there,
Mm.
and I'll destroy all that, cities and the environment and, life. And they went, there must be a way to measure this. So they adopted my system. In the UK, the Social Value Act, 2012, Modern Slavery Act came from Theresa May, the Prime Minister who followed. And then in India, the 2% CSR law, 2% CSR law in Indonesia, and then 5 EU countries, and then became a global standard.
Mm.
And all this time I was quite, what is going on? Because I'm, the Center for Citizenship and Enterprise Governance, CCG, is a not-for-profit. None of my board ever got money. No one has equity. No one has money, salary, anything. We all kind of did well, raping and pillaging in a different life, before we became good people,
Mm.
And so it effectively became kind of a movement to try and help to change the world. And in 2016, my then CEO, who now is my wife, as of 3 years ago, said she was number 3 at Barclays Bank, Barclays, big senior banker. And she said, are you proud of what you've done? I said, look, we are a global standard and we're changing. And she said, and we were charging, Abhishek, 1 to 2% of the value of the contract.
Mm. Mm.
Measure,
Mm.
right, in public sector contracts. No jokes, like big multi-billion-dollar contracts. So
Sorry.
um, I said, yeah, I'm proud. She said, you're a complete failure. I
Hmm.
went, what? Because the banker, hard ass. I went, what? She said, because these people only comply with your metric to win the contract. You haven't changed the hearts of the hearts of the people companies who are trying to change the world. It's a bit like woke, right? All this green woke stuff that we get. And so I argued for 6 months. I lost, and she persuaded me that we needed. She said you need to become transactional like a bank. You don't just measure love; you must be able to send love.
Hmm.
So we look at digital ways to send love, and I came across blockchain in 2016.
Hmm.
And in March, I remember asking her in her office. I said, and we weren't romantically involved at all those days. I said. Um, I said, "Oh, have you heard of blockchain?" She said, hmm. I said, "Bitcoin, apparently." She said, "Oh, yeah." And she was responsible at Bank of England, 385 billion a day,
Hmm.
all right? And she went, "Bitcoin, what's it capitalized at?" And I went, "Oh yeah, 12 billion." And she went, "Rounding error." Okay. So I went, "Oh yeah, okay." I said, "Well, let's try it."
Hmm.
So we changed, to be honest to you, from looking at financial value. My data trick was that I could attach financial value to a non-financial asset like love and happiness. And so
Hmm.
I would often in my speeches go, "Abhishek, I love you, $2.50."
Hmm.
Now, now the people in the humanitarian and libertarian world hated me, hated,
Hmm.
because they were, my God, you are putting a money value, you moron, on climate and
Hmm.
on. And I went, no, no, listen, the problem, the person who decides in government or is a purchasing manager.
Correct.
He doesn't understand complex 15 KPIs and 3 articles and a book and 2 years of research. He wants to know, is this number bigger than that number?
Hmm.
So if I say to you, the financial value of a railway track, 10% we will decide on its financial value as a part of the contribution. And 10% of 100 billion is 10 billion. All right, so I need a number around 10 billion. Otherwise, I don't know what you're talking about. Smiles and happiness, and
Hmm.
so when we swiveled from being the ugly duckling of humanitarian world and working originally in those days just with United Nations and so on, and we swiveled to blockchain, we became a swan,
Hmm.
okay, of blockchain. And so we did an ICO in 2017, not much, 9.5 million in those days is not much, but we did the first ICO in Britain with the FCA,
Hmm.
okay,
Okay. Hmm.
which was, because because especially because my wife, we couldn't do anything off grid, and I remember with the FCA, they didn't know about crypto,
Hmm.
and I was learning, and I remember them saying, "What is this?" And they said, "What do you mean? But it has tax implications." And I remember saying to them, "Man, you can't tax love." And they went, "Right." And I remember them thinking, "Oh my God, oh my God, we don't want to sit in a court with this moron,
Hmm.
this mad professor, talking about taxing love. How we're not going to go anywhere with this." So
Hmm.
they kindly, I can't use the word approved, but I went through 3 committees of the FCA and they let it go through.
Hmm.
So we did the small ICO, and then we did many other ICOs. No, we didn't do it. We supported structures and around many. My chair, my advisory board is a guy called Chandra Guo, who is, when I met him, he was honestly about 28, Chinese meat packer. Now
Okay.
he's worth around $40 billion. He
Hmm.
at that time he had a third of Ethereum, ETC and ETH, and he
Hmm.
had one of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world.
Wow.
In
Hmm.
2018, he said, no, 18, he settled in a $70 million house in LA, right?
Hmm.
So, so the transformation has been, and that brought me into the blockchain space. And I
Hmm.
guess in more recent years, I've been focused, Abhishek, on how we can transform society through blockchain and crypto and so on. Okay, this has been my, you know, I've been fortunate on money, so money is not the issue. The money is how, and I'm too small.
Mm,
I'm not, Jeff Bezos to go, let's spend 50 billion on this, right? Or Elon Musk. So
mm,
although I've had some big exits, it's only a handful, maybe five, six big ones. And so I tend to try, and I lot of failures, lots of failures, but I've now kind of settled to understanding what succeeds. And
mm,
stuff like in the UAE, I'm responsible for a couple of One Belt One Road projects in China, 100 million dollar each,
mm,
and one $200 million one, which I only advise on.
mm,
And in the UAE, we started setting up a bank, not just to bank money, diamonds, and land and all that, but also happiness and tolerance. Because in the UAE, you have a Department of Happiness and a Ministry of Happiness and a Ministry of Tolerance. So how
mm,
can you do it? You have to tokenize it and
mm,
say, I will reward you if you create happiness in our society. I will give you better interest rates,
mm,
or more rates, right, or less interest.
mm,
And in Saudi Arabia, we do work on a city called Neom, which is $500 billion project, and we're designing the ecosystem for that because they're not looking for cities that run on financial value. They're looking for cities that run differently on different kinds of values.
mm.
So big ecosystem projects, big outcomes, and we've got better at it. And now I'm involved in. I chair about 15 boards around the world, in America and Vietnam and China and so on, UK and Portugal, so on. And most of focus is on these big outcomes. Later on, if we have a chance, we can talk about a silly coffee. Which is that sounds like coffee. What's that got to do with anything? But
Mm,
that is, I'm really interested. It's something we all drink, so it's a carrier of values, and
mm.
a lot of focus on that, and to deliver, a better world.
Such an amazing journey, Olinga. And while I was talking to you, I was thinking of the first thing which came to my mind is Maslow's hierarchy of how you see, you have reached at the top level. So probably the pyramid has been built upside down when you talk about how you have reached that self-actualization when you're trying to help from being an entrepreneur to business, from there to being a professor, from P ratio to SE ratio. So this transition, I'm sure you have learned and you have grown a lot. I think a lot of people don't reach that level, or probably when they reach, it's too late in their life to make any impact. uh, but tell me about this whole transition of, and I would not use a non-political word, but let's say somebody who was completely from a capitalist society to moving to how to help people. How much time did it took, and what values, what lessons did you take from your, and I would say your previous life, which means before 48, what lessons and what things you had to unlearn? So I'm really excited to know about
Okay.
that.
All right. So I have to give a bow to my parents first, and I'm not one of these guys to go, oh, my father, my mother, but the fact is, my father was a Red Cross doctor in the Vietnam War, and my mother set up orphanages there. And so in me, and I was born out there in Laos.
Mm,
So in me was something, all right, and that's the kind of faith-related way, that I was led my life, and I'm a very small faith called the Baha'i faith. It's a very small religion.
mm,
So in there was something, all right. But I did indeed went on to a capitalist society, and you become institutionalized. And let me tell you, so the transition didn't work voluntarily; it
mm,
worked involuntarily. So I remember there was a program, half hour on BBC and one on ITV many years ago, on what a nasty person I am.
mm,
All right, and blah. I'd taken 8 million from the government. And da. Anyway, and I went, yeah, I did, and I asked for it, and they gave it to me. What do you want me to say about that? Yeah, but my head of PR came to me and said, Alinga, can you do something nice? Just do something nice so I can report on you being a nice person. Oh, what do you mean, nice person? In those days, people in business hero worship aggression. I remember myself. I hold someone. I used to run CNN network outside of Atlanta. I hold a guy by his lapels across a boardroom. And I thought, wow. I think about it now. I think how embarrassing, how bad that is. But they thought, we thought that aggression and was actually a good thing. And so I did some nice things. I found I loved it, and I found I loved the human interaction. So I remember I saved after many failures, because the challenge that is that you got private sector agenda, you got public sector agenda, government agenda, which is different. You got community agenda, which is the people, different, and you got civil society, NGOs, which is different. So 4 different agendas. How do you blend these things together? And it's very difficult, and that's really kind of the skill set that I cultivated. And I guess the answers came through trying. I changed a nunnery, 48-bedroom nunnery, into a children's charity, and it grew really aggressively, 35% a year. Okay, oh wow, it's a children's charities commission. Wow, look at this. And then they said, well, you saved this 20-acre mansion, and big mansion, beautiful, 56-bedroom, and I turned it into a ballet school for mixed children, because in that time there were no black children, black girls in ballet, because they like to line them up from behind and not tell the difference between them. So, and if you're black, if you're too tall, if you're fat, if you're too thin, so these things taught me how, and because I still had within me that kind of entrepreneurial, I wouldn't call myself a philanthropist, Abhishek, because I need to be always involved. It's a weakness I have, I say, but I need to be involved. So because I feel like if I just gave them, they wanted 9 million for a ballet school. I went, well, I give it to you, and you'll be back next year. And for more money, I said, well, let's do it differently. So I learned these 4 agendas are different, where the touching points can be. And the thing about blockchain, I became the world's first professor in blockchain at Birmingham City University. Yeah. So I, so because once I went, oh, blockchain, I went, okay, let's, my father was one of these guys who said to me, we never communicated well, all right, and we were that close. And in fact, he said to me, when I said on his eulogy, he died a few years ago, I said, what he lacked as a father, he made it as a great humanitarian, and that upset a lot of family. Oh my God! I went, no, he's a great humanitarian. He just was a great dad. That's okay. That's life. But he always said to me, Olinga, whatever you do, be the best. Like, don't say you're bisexual, be homosexual or heterosexual, be full on. Oh, great, right? Full on. That's a very Asian thing, isn't it? That's a very Asian Arab thing, and so even when stuff that I'm trying to do good in, I say be sustainable and scalable. So that's where my sweet spot is, to do things on big scale, and it's be sustainable economically, and it should scale to a global proposition. And I've got better at it, but a lot of failures, my friend. I work statistically, a lot of failures. So I'm just telling you about the good news.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you about all the things that didn't work out for me.
Correct. So, Olinga, tell us something about, so being from the first professor on blockchain and then building something on blockchain from theory to practicality. So what is the coffee project which you're working? Tell us about more about that.
Sure. So we had developed, over 15 years of research at university level and 400 academic papers. And, there's a journal called Blockchain, Frontiers in Blockchain. It was leading academic journal. I'm the chief editor, and we did it as a collaboration. So it's institute, the problem about crypto is it's now getting some credibility, but only in Bitcoin. Right, where institutions going, okay, we'll treat it like gold. They put some money in there, put money in gold, diversification, all good.
Mm.
But 98 to 99% of the market in crypto is scam. Has we have had a reputation for scams, right? And almost anyone comes to you saying crypto, you just go, yeah, okay, whatever.
Mm.
I mean, the amount of bullshit that's in the business.
Right.
In China, where I sit on the government committee since 2017, 2019, they came to me where I sit on the blockchain committee for e-commerce for China.
Mm.
Seven of us, and we have power of life imprisonment and death. It's quite a serious, serious subject, right?
Mm.
And they don't mess around. They go, oh yeah, yeah. Well, they go, well, this is what's going to happen to you, and it does happen to you.
Mm.
So it's a serious business with serious consequences, but most of it is nonsense. So I look at ways which are essential and cannot be done any other way, where people can accept. So in the beginning of blockchain, Chris from XRP, the founder, and Don Tapascott from the Blockchain Revolution book and so on, they always said, that blockchain is going to revolutionize the social space. And then
Mm.
we all went crypto,
Yeah.
went financial, all right?
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm gone the other way,
Mm.
okay? Because the thing that blockchain can do, which no other technology can do,
Mm.
is actually arbitrage between financial assets and non-financial assets.
Yeah.
So, in other words, have a same platform where you can go, there's money on it, but also there can be tokenizing love or happiness, or tokenizing the feeling of good and great and sentiment and stuff. And if you
Mm.
can put that on the same platform, you can make great value. So this stuff about the feelings is really critical in the landscape of change. When I was young, your age, there was big data. Microsoft was big on this, and big data, and then Facebook came along, and were actually communities of data. You all love strawberries, form a community of strawberries, and we'll sell you advertising for strawberries. And okay, then came, of course, Google and other parts of Meta, who then offered free services
Mm.
like WhatsApp, Instagram, Gmail, Google Maps, etc. And they went, look, we give you this product for free. Just
Mm.
give us your data
Mm.
so we can sell more products to you. Fair enough.
Mm.
And then Chinese government, of course, they go, well, in Europe, we go data my way, GDPR, but that's been a failure, hasn't it? Because all we do is hit cookie acceptance buttons about 30 times a day, and no one does that. In China, they went, look, data, it belongs to government,
Mm.
because we have to safeguard you. We have 1.2 billion, 1.4 billion people in China. We are
Mm.
responsible in their eyes for 72 BRI countries around the world. There's Afghanistan at 73. And
Mm.
they go, well, we can't use individual rights and legal process to safeguard you. There's too many. So we use fourth industrial revolution tech like AI, blockchain, 5G, Web3, IoT to
Mm.
actually monitor and reward people. All right. And
Mm.
so if you do good by what they call good,
Mm.
then we will let you go first class, and we know where you are, and we can close your bank account and da da da. All
Mm.
right. And so it's to safeguard society. So it's data belongs to government there. And
Mm.
so I look at things that can actually where it works well. So the silly project,
Mm.
what's most important in this transformation of the way we use data towards sentiment is Google, these guys are using sentiment, how we feel. For those of your colleagues who, I'm sure everyone understands it, but when you WhatsApp your mother and you go, "Oh, my knee hurts," every single word in your Gmail, in your WhatsApp, Instagram is red, right? Machine learning, and they go, "Abhishek has just said his knee hurts to someone else. Where
Mm.
is he? What's his location? What's his
Mm.
relation to that person? Where's his geolocation on his phone? What browsers you using, put an advert about knee joints on
Mm.
his, and you go, oh my God, how
Mm.
did they know that I have actually, is it Siri listening to me? What's going on?
Mm.
Because they use sentiment. That has now moved to what's called values, because they're trying to first get into your heart and to your mind.
Mm.
Okay. they now the tech has moved to finding a genome of values, and there's where TikTok has made a big difference. TikTok is different to Instagram. Instagram is a platform of jealousy and envy. You go, I wish I was like Kim Kardashian. Why am I? What? Oh, if I buy these products, I'll be like Kim Kardashian. I'll do that. TikTok is what are your values? What is it you really want to watch? In your private space, what do you really like to watch? And so the advertising technique is not what you watch for an advert. They go to buy to suppliers. They go, okay, do you want to know what Olinga watches? He watches horse riding, this. You can sell it to those people if we tell you who they are. What? Yeah. We'll tell you who they are. We don't want any money from it, but we'll tell you what he watches, for how long, when he watches, and whom. And so we've developed this whole KOL marketing, key opinion leaders, celebrity influencer, which is 80% of how transactions are done in China and in West now. 80% of retail is done through influencers. Okay. So basically, our sentiment, how we feel. And at Silly, we focus on ESG, environmental social governance, how we feel about the planet. So it's not just, in coffee growing, it's always cup to seed, seed to cup. But we go, no, man, today it's about seed to your heart. It's about how you feel. When I have that coffee, the taste is very low on priority, very, very low. It's at the bottom of priority. What is more important is the ambience of the coffee place. Hence, Starbucks, they'll take 25% of the margin. Roasters in Switzerland take 30% to make it smell. Wow. Not taste, smell, right? The shape of the bottle. So the growers in Africa get about 2.5 billion of a $450 billion market. Right? So because an espresso, only 2% goes back to the grower. So the margin is in the people who produce non-financial value, right?
Correct.
I feel great. I feel empowered in Starbucks. I feel, wow, sexy and look so cool. All right. So we have brought in disintermediation technologies to connect the person drinking the coffee directly. It's not, and now you'll see the blockchain. It's not any coffee. It's that square meter of coffee. It's my coffee. It's not any coffee. It's that woman who's working on a coffee. I want her story as well. I want to be able to contribute to her life and her children's lives. I want to be able to contribute to climate, and I want to be rewarded for this. I want to get this and then go into a supermarket and they go, because you're such a good person, we'll reward you for being a good person, for ESG and environment. We are also aligned to environment, so we'll give you 30% discount. And as fortune will have it, in Asili Coffee in Kenya, our founder there runs the second biggest retailer in Kenya. So you can actually physically go, yeah, give me a discount because I'm supporting the environment, climate change, etc., etc. And all starts with a sip of your coffee. So you see, it's modern techniques, which is very well used. The same thing goes, my friend. We're moving to other areas like electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, the large majority of minerals come from East Africa, which is where children are going swimming to get the stuff. Okay, and that sort of white guy can sit in LA in a Tesla. Wow, it's so quiet. It's so clean. It's so beautiful. Wow, right? Well, all the margin goes there, and the children are the ones who are swimming in the, they go, what? So it's disintermediation. So this is the use of blockchain in coffee, but then we'll do it for wheat, electric vehicle, minerals, etc., cotton, where actually it allows the social value, the environmental value, the feeling, connectivity with the person, etc., because that has value. All right. So one of the most things that you and I laughed at that crypto fight, and there were a lot of funny things happened that night. The best one we should say was Cyber Chris, that woman from America, who Grand Slam in Muay Thai and wrestling and boxing and you name it. All right,
Mm.
she actually kicked the ass of someone else. Right, within it was just shocking. It was
Right.
just to watch. But one of the things we laughed at is because the branding of this is silly coffee.
Mm.
Well, silly coffee, what the hell does that mean? It's like any other coffee, right? But so
Mm.
we brought in this branding thing where we talk about it having value to you. So we call it, the word beings, being can also mean being. So we
Mm.
go being happy, being gay, being LGBTQ,
Mm.
being tolerant, being, rich, being poor. So everyone has an expression of value and saying,
Mm.
wow, this coffee is my coffee. It's
Mm.
my gay coffee, right?
Correct.
This is to my particular taste made by a virtual coffee roaster who's not
Mm.
willing to pay a premium for it.
Mm.
So the way we're doing that is we're tokenizing the land.
Mm.
We're going to buy up to seven. We've bought a few hundred acres so far. We're going to buy up to 7,000 acres, and you will be able to buy a square meter.
Mm.
All right, and we're talking about the ESG value of that land. All right, so that who wants a square meter of dirt? But what you want is the right to develop the ESG and what goes with it,
Mm.
value from it. You buy it for like a dollar. Kenyans to start with. Right now there are riots in Kenya. Okay,
Mm.
so we use TikTok. We're gonna lock into the feeling of change that they
Mm.
want, and you buy that, and then it represents the value you have, and then you get the app, and you can have my game, my land, and you see how that's progressing, and
Mm.
you connect into what changes you're making, and agrotourism, and you can do it online, and you can do all kinds of connection, right? So I'm
Correct.
very excited about the Silly project because it's one of the best examples. It's a commodity, as boring as it is as coffee. And honestly, no one wants to invest in coffee by itself.
Mm. Correct.
Low margin, what? In Kenya, most of the coffee, like some guy was telling me, they had built 7,000 acres and it went to housing in the end of coffee because they
Mm.
want to make more money out of housing than we can coffee. So
Okay.
no interest in coffee as it is, but
Mm.
and how we can transform the world by a commodity we all love. It's the
Mm.
love. It's not the money part, is it? It's
Mm.
the love that we love for it. And so using blockchain to identify the square meter, to connect to it, to tokenize it, and then of course the whole crypto thing about it. So we're going to open up internal to Kenya. We first do it with people buying there, and of course abroad they can, but also crypto investors who
Mm.
want to see big RWA projects, real world assets. You and I know there's lots of, I think Binance, it's a 16 or $26 trillion market by 2030, and you look around and you go, what?
Where is
Where?
it? Yeah.
You know, you know, in blockchain, people always go, oh yeah, all the blockchain projects. What are you talking about, man? I
Mm.
mean, blockchain has not had mainstream adoption. After
Okay.
after Bitcoin, which is according to bankers still pretty well minor.
Mm.
You go, okay, where else? Can you just show me where they're selling it on the street corner? Where? You know, so I'm excited because it's the first vehicle I
Mm.
found, and I'm stupid. I had never thought of it. They came to me, which was
Mm.
really exciting.
Mm.
I said we can make it transformative, and now we're looking at broader. You know, even a silly token is a function of not just the financial value, but it's kind of multiplied by the social impact of the company.
Correct.
It will grow as our impact grows. The social impact, not just the value of the land, but the social impact as we make differences to the lives of the small farmers. Got it?
Correct. Amazing journey, Olinga, and really, I mean, you have seen in one lifetime, you have seen so many different things: entrepreneur, professor, and now helping others to go this. But I mean, so a lot of people who are audience, they are new entrepreneurs who are just getting into business. So, what would be your top three advice till the age when you were running after where everybody's we are probably a lot of us are still running. What would be your top three advices of being an entrepreneur, somebody just starting his or her career?
Okay, that's a good question. I think, I guess, I hate to say this, but my father was right. Be passionate, okay? Do it full on,
Mm,
full on. But there are consequences, my friend. You
mm,
know, three divorces, not good. All
mm,
right. Who can be proud of that? You
mm,
know, so there are consequences to that. But
mm,
if you're going to do it, be aware there are going to be some consequences in your life which you may not like. And I'm not telling you should do either. Okay.
mm.
Certainly today, life is more balanced, and not just for me, but for everyone. You know,
Correct.
my daughter and my son, my son, whatever you are, I want to be the reverse. All right. And I go, yeah, I can see that. I accept that. You know,
Mm,
I remember meeting him in Pall Mall once when he was in early 20s. I'd given him a company, and he had won a major NHS contract, $300 something million framework contract. He was really unhappy,
mm,
and I went, "What's wrong?" It was in the Institute of Directors. I said, "Over lunch, what's wrong with you?" He said, and he started crying. I said, "You're not happy, are you?" He said, he shook his head. I said, "Close it. Close the business. It's not worth it." It's
mm,
that would have been a different response prior to when I was younger. All right, and I
mm,
went, "It's not worth it. Don't do it." So be passionate. My
mm,
daughter here, whose house this is, she's passionate about art. Abhishek, for 15 years, she has not sold a single piece of art.
mm,
Refused.
mm,
She hears voices 24/7.
mm,
Then all of a sudden, after we closed her studio down 2 months ago, 3 months ago,
mm,
she was asked, "Can you display some pictures in China, a Hong Kong exhibition?" Oh, okay.
mm,
Because I'm no longer interested. We
mm,
did. Couple went first day. But we only gave two, went immediately. Then they asked for 16 more in Beijing Gallery. Now in Munich next month.
mm,
Now in United Nations, in coming up in and the Metropolitan Art Museum and the London British Museum in London, and so and do you know, to this day, since I've
mm,
been back from Hong Kong nearly a month and a half, she's not asked me once how much do they sell for.
mm.
So passion does not mean monetary value.
Correct. Mm,
Okay, be passionate about what you try to do, but
mm,
don't expect it to have always a monetary response to you.
mm,
Okay, and that's number one rule. I guess number two rule is yeah, look, in the end it's a business. Okay, and it's got to make sense. I was some guy pitched me, wanted a couple of million from me about 5 days ago. I went, okay. And I said, okay, show me your three previous years. And it was a loss and a bigger loss. And so and I went, yeah, but this is, at first they didn't have the figures. Oh, you don't have the figures. You came to me and
mm,
you expect me to be just go, oh, yeah, it's okay, man. I love you. Here's the money. You know, and I said, they said, well, I'll get there anyway.
mm,
They said, why do you need to know the figures and performance? And I go, are you kidding? You know, this is an investment you've asked for. You're not asked for philanthropy. You,
mm,
I'm not a philanthropist. I'm not giving you money and you go, ooh, don't, doesn't matter, brother, because I don't really believe it. You
mm,
know, it's you saying this is what you can deliver, and you're telling me, well, it'll happen maybe.
mm.
And I go, so it's a business. So even if it's you have good intentions, ESG, whatever, happiness, whatever you want, change. As you know, a lot of crypto projects are about changing the world,
Okay.
even though they go off here and just steal money, right? It's about changing the world, right? But in the end, it's got to make sense
Mm,
financially.
okay.
I've had plenty of bullshit stuff. Okay, I'm going to return you 6% a day. I'm sorry, what? You're going to return me 6% a day? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, 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 yeah. You just give us, a few million, 6% a day. Are you like stupid?
We all have been through that journey.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So it's got to make good financial sense, and don't be afraid of saying it
Mm,
and going for it. And the third one is be lucky.
Mm,
Honestly, all my wins have been lucky.
mm.
Okay, lucky. But to be lucky, you have to do a lot and be
Correct.
opportunistic when it comes through. And when you see the crack in the door, go for it. Okay, and sometimes, like my daughter, 15 years, now she's not once asked me how much money do they
Mm,
sell for.
correct.
So for her, you get what? So what money? What the hell's money going to do for me? Is it going to take my voices?
Mm,
No. So shut up.
mm,
So find it and just hammer it. Okay, when you find that opportunity, however slender it is,
mm,
but also be okay. Learn lessons. Every downside, I became a better person after every divorce.
mm,
I became a much better person after my daughter's tragedy.
mm,
Okay, because it changed my life.
mm,
It changed me to appreciate every single day encountering you, Abhishek. You
mm,
know, to live the moment, love the moment, be happy. And I'm happier now at the age of 64 than I have been since the age of 11.
mm,
Okay. I am live every second happy and I live in the present. Not about some future where, oh, I'll be a billionaire, millionaire, whatever, billionaire, trillion. Man,
mm,
whoever you are, there's someone richer,
mm. Correct.
right? Wherever you are. So don't worry about that. Happiness. Go for things that you value, really.
Lovely, Olinga. It was really very inciting. For I don't know how almost 50 minutes passed, but it was really lovely listening to you and learning from you and from your wisdom and insights. And I think major crux which I could take from this session is life is not just about money. And a lot of people have been chasing that, but as you rightly said, what with nine houses, seven cars if you're not happy? So thank you very much for coming on this show, and I think we'll have one more interesting chat soon because just 50 minutes won't suffice the interesting things which you can talk about. But thank you very much and wish you all the best for the projects and bring happiness to the world. I think that's something which all of us need.
You're very kind, sir. You take care of myself.
Thank you
Bye.
very much, and thank you for listening for this podcast. And I'll be back soon with a new interesting guest. Till that time, keep watching Voice of Crypto.